You are listening to the Hold On, We've Got This podcast. I'm Allison,
And I'm Casey.
and today's episode is about working with your spouse.
Which has been a little challenging in the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, yeah. Getting this together has been a little challenging, and telling Casey things and having him hear me has been challenging.
I hear you. I just forget you. That's all.
Thanks. So, everybody who knows us, whenever they find out that we work together, like friends or like people that we meet and they find out that we work together, family, everybody asks the question, how do you guys work together as husband and wife? Like, how do you do that and not kill each other?
That's a good question. How do
Well,
you do that and not kill each other? Well, I think for me, it kind of comes down to, knowing that, I can't do this without you.
likewise.
And so it's like, you can't pick, you have to really pick your fights, and,
Yeah.
and literally and figuratively, right?
Yeah.
And so, when you're working with your significant other, or your spouse, or whatever the case may be, you really need to focus in on your priorities. And
Yeah.
when you're going to spend as much time with an individual as for instance, as we spend together,
Hmm.
we're going to bicker, we're going to fight, we're not going to see eye to eye. We share space a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And, luckily we get along pretty well. So, it's not a huge deal, but, it's just kind of like,
Yeah. So outside of the like emotional, how do you work with your spouse? There's the element too of basically like, how do we literally split our time? How do we literally split the workload? And you and I, from the very beginning, when we started working on, because in real estate, we didn't really work together. I would sometimes do your transaction
Yeah.
coordination, but I didn't really like to coordinate for you, and you didn't really like to have me do it.
No.
So when we did Dinner Detective, we both kind of understood where our strengths were. And I think that was the first hurdle that's the first hurdle anybody has to get over, is that your strengths, your weaknesses, and from there you stay in your lane. It doesn't mean that one of us can't come
Yeah.
to the other and say like, "Oh, I have an idea for your department." We do that a lot. But neither of us ever like force ourselves into what the other's doing.
I think we kind of approach everything from an advisory standpoint.
Yes.
But it's like I specialize in what I specialize in, you specialize in what you specialize in, and there's a reason that they are specialties.
Yeah.
With our Dinner Detective business, you handle all cast stuff.
Yeah.
Anything that has to do with the artistic development,
Casting and creative.
That's all you. I mean, I might have a moment, where I chime in, or remind you of, some of my favorite jokes that we use.
And I'm always like, no, it's terrible.
The wactress.
The wactress joke is the worst.
love
If
that
you're
joke.
not familiar with the wactress joke, you need to come to a Dinner Detective show.
Yep.
And hopefully you'll see it. Some of our actors don't use the wactress joke though, because they also know that it's terrible.
Or they know that it's really good.
We do bicker from time to time.
Yeah.
Not even bicker, but like we will get mad at each other in certain areas, like surrounding the business. Like if, I also handle all of our money, as far as like I handle managing the books with our bookkeeper, Gina.
Yeah.
And then I just sort of relay to you certain objectives that we have, like, hey, this month, this is your budget, or, we want to try and hit this objective of savings this year. And here's what I need for you in managing your budget. So, I mean, on occasion, we will go outside of one another's objective and we fight about that stuff.
Yeah.
And get irritated with each other. But at the end of the day, like for me, my biggest thing is overall, I really respect you. I am not always very respectful in how I fight with you. But at the end, like I respect you as an individual, like not as my husband or as my partner. Like I respect you as a person.
And as a professional.
Yes, as a professional.
Yeah, I would concur with that. I think, and that's something that I hope to convey to you as well.
Big time, yeah.
Because again, it goes back to I can't do this without you.
Yeah.
Just from we have 15 locations.
Mhm.
And even if, I was doing this by myself, that'd be overwhelming.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you did do it by yourself for a little while.
Well, yeah, but that was like 1 or 2 locations,
Yeah.
maybe 3. Uh, I was
Yeah.
pretty heavily involved at, I'd say probably 4. But, that's when we start bringing people in to help us.
Right, and then I eventually got to leave real estate
Yeah.
and go full-time into Dinner Detective, which was really helpful.
A really good decision for us, because it helped us grow. And, over the past 10 years until,
Right.
until the last 2 weeks, it's been extremely profitable for us. An
We're
events-based
so
business when everyone's shut in their houses.
we're so fucked. No, we're not fucked. It'll
No.
be fine. Everybody, it'll be fine. Yeah. No, and we've really always been on the same page about growth, and if we're not, we inevitably get on the
Yeah.
same page.
Yeah, there's been times where I've kind of twisted your arm a little bit to help us get to the next step, because, I think sometimes, because you put so much labor into your efforts especially with the cast.
My work is is labor intensive, very much so. More so necessarily than yours. Like,
Yes, like, because every week there's a show.
yeah.
There are 600 actors, and you handle each actor as if they're the most important person.
Right. And then some of them are like, "You're not treating me importantly enough."
Oh,
That's
no.
rare, though.
It's rare, but, I think that, the actors don't understand that, and nor should they.
Yeah.
It's like that's not their job to understand. You love it when they do.
Yeah.
But you don't, if they understood, the amount of time and energy that you put into each individual that contacts you, I think they would be astounded by.
It would be a different perspective.
I think
for
it would be a
sure.
huge different perspective because, we've always told them from the get-go, our actors are important to us as our customers, just the expectations are somewhat different.
Right. It's 50-50, right?
Yeah.
So like you handle our customer that purchases the tickets, and I handle the customer that is the performer.
Yeah.
And it is 50-50. What?
I'm watching our Facebook or our Instagram live, and actor or RE princesses.
Who said that? Oh,
Nika.
Nika, you used to be an actor in Houston. So she's like, I am a princess.
I'm princess.
Nika was the most demanding. No, not at all.
Not at all.
She was very cool. No, so the other part of it is I'm traveling a lot, which can get kind of exhausting. But some years you're able to travel with me. Some years I'm doing it by myself, which is tough.
Yeah.
But overall, we both have our department and we both work well within that department, and we really stay in our lane.
Yeah.
There are times where I step into your lane on or not even step in, but I'm kind of like looking over on marketing, because there'll be stuff that that you and our marketing person, Deb, who's awesome, there'll be stuff that you put together and I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, I don't like the wording on that. Or,
yeah, well, because it's perspective. It's like sometimes, we get moving and we don't consider every little aspect of things. And you see the world somewhat different,
right
perspective.
Maybe not always right, but I'm like, wait a minute, that doesn't sound right. That's going to piss off 1% of our people.
And we can't afford to piss off 1%. So
no, you do really have to consider as much perspective as you can. I think too, it's nice working together because we both also really appreciate what the other one does. Like, I see the stuff that you do on a daily basis with like our regional executive producers. They'll have a technology issue. And if they came to me for any of that, I would be like,
what?
I guess it's time to just stop the business because I have no idea.
So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
So, from all your experience that you had prior to this, prior to getting into tech and stuff like that, what concerns do you have working with your spouse getting, because they're,
oh, I had major ones too.
I know it, and some of them stemmed from when we were, in the real estate days, and we kind of avoided working together.
Yeah.
But then, there was a certain point in time where we had to make the leap. What were some of your concerns?
Well, and we had a wedding planning business together. We did 2 weddings, 2 pretty high profile weddings in Los Angeles together. Yeah. And then I was like, fuck weddings, fuck brides. We're not doing this anymore.
This isn't fun.
I hate this. It sounded fun. It's horrible. I didn't mind working with you then, but it was such a short-lived thing. Then we went right into real estate where
Yeah.
we really never worked together. And when we did, it was kind of annoying because we
Yeah.
had different perspectives,
Yep.
like way different. But
Well, there's so much negotiation that happens,
yeah.
and how that goes down and things like that.
And you were a sales agent versus I was transactional.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's like there is no emotion involved. And for the sales agent, there has to be emotion involved because your buyers and sellers
Yep.
are emotional. Anyways, I digress. So, what was I the most concerned about? I had seen unsuccessful marital work relationships.
Ooh, do tell.
Do tell. Um, my mom and dad they owned a business together
Right.
and they did really, really well. But then, like, obviously, like any marriage, when finances get difficult or anything like that gets difficult, it really takes a toll on the marriage. So then you compound that with having a business and being responsible for all of your employees' finances as well. I mean, it made it so much harder for them. But I also recognized, like, I worked in a real estate office as an independent transaction coordinator, and the husband and wife who ran that office were so dysfunctional on a level that, like, I can't, like, one of them wouldn't show up until like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and that person was the business manager, like the office manager.
Yeah.
And there would be people all day long coming to me, and I didn't have anything to do with their business. I just rented space in there. People would come to me and be like, "Oh, where's so and so? I need to ask a question." And I'm like, "Well, they're not here yet because they don't usually come in till noon because they're sleeping it off, you know." Like, seriously. And then then they just totally didn't respect each other, and I was like, I understood the stress that comes in when you own a business with your spouse, and I had such a strong foundation and relationship with you. I never wanted the business to tear us apart,
Right.
like I had seen happen.
Yeah, because I mean, there's so much that goes on in business. Starting a business, owning a business, running a business. You know, there's so many added stressors
Yes.
that marriage already has, and then you compound that with business.
Yeah.
And then multiple businesses and multiple.
And if you
problems.
have different views or you have different, like, our objectives have always been the same.
Yeah.
We've always adjusted objectives the same. Like, your objective may have changed with our business, but you would approach me and say, "Okay, like, here's what my trajectory is. How do you feel about it?"
Yeah.
And we would hash it out. And you're a big picture person. You always have been. You always have come to me, with exception to Dinner Detective. You have always been the person that comes to me and is like, "I got this great idea." And when in my younger days, when we were talking on our last episode about fear, I was very fearful about your big dreams and your big ideas.
Right.
And I would have to fight with myself not to shut you down, because it's important for that's an important aspect of who you are.
Sure.
And for me to stifle that would have ended us.
Well, that's what makes me tick.
I know.
It's the big ideas and figuring out how to make that work. Conversely, with that, my big ideas can be even overwhelming to me.
Right.
Because I get bogged down in
But
the
that's why
details.
you bring them
But
to
that's
me.
why I bring them to you.
And I break it down.
And you break it down. And part of the challenge with that for both of us is, big picture, break down details, and then manage the fear of moving forward.
Right.
One of the things that we've been trying to do as a new business is to get into real estate investing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this has been, I mean, we've been trying to do it this year, and it's just been kind of like we keep on hitting these bumps in the road, and we're trying to do it from afar and trying to figure out all the nitty-gritty details. But there's this level of fear of the unknown.
Yeah, which is so interesting to me, because in our lifetime and in our partnership together, you have always been the person who's like, "Fear, I can set it aside." But this particular area, you are like, "Ooh, this is pretty
It's
scary."
about control.
Sure.
And yeah, it's about control, and understanding what I can control, what I can't control, and how much of that, and how to put that, file those things away in their specific areas. Because when starting this new business, we don't have a system in place.
No.
There isn't one, and so we have to create one. And it's been a while since we've created something from scratch.
Right. Dinner Detective was a slow burn. And I think real estate investment will be too, because
Yeah.
when we started San Diego 10 years ago, you know, the scariest part about that is the minimal amount of money that we had on the line.
Right.
Like, we scraped every penny together, and we got investors, our sweet friends, invested in a very small amount, but it's helped us over the hump. And we scraped all that together, and it's like, if this fails, like, we are going to lose everything. Like,
Yeah.
we have no backup. And now it's funny because we have a really nice foundation built, and taking this next leap, there's that same fear. It's just on a whole new level. Instead of being like, we're going to lose everything, it's like, oh my God, we could totally crush what we've built if this other business that we're now trying to,
Right. Or it takes up more time than we anticipated,
Right.
and it ends up subtracting from, dinner. The real estate business ends up subtracting all this time from Dinner Detective, and Dinner Detective ends up suffering, and
Right.
and so it's a very stressful situation. Then you throw in this COVID mess, and
Casey always wants to call it convid because he's like, it's conning me out of my life. This horrible disease.
We're going to have a convention in a few years called Convid.
And then everybody's going to be like,
recollecting
what?
the shit show that this was.
Yeah, I think what is interesting is we've always really been able to balance each other's fears. We've been able to balance each other's expectations. Both of us really do not put up with the other person's shit either.
No.
Like, ever. Like, if one of us is like putting our head between our legs and kissing our ass goodbye, the other's like, stop being a fucking victim.
Yep.
Get your shit together. It's not fire and brimstone. Literally, this last 2 weeks.
Each of us have a different dynamic of going down that road.
Oh my God.
One pep talks, one,
Yeah, Casey gives me a pep talk, and I'm usually like, stop being a bitch. And he's like, I feel so much better.
I feel so much better. I'm just going to go cry in the room real quick. I'm going to go find my manhood.
I'm sorry. But like, I don't have a lot of patience for like when you are bitchy about things. Like when you get like when you're like this COVID stuff, you would get like really bitchy about it. And that's what I would, because that's your way of explaining your fear in that situation, is
Right.
getting kind of like, this isn't fair. This is stupid. This doesn't apply to us. And I'm like, get your fucking shit together. Not the nicest approach, but it works.
This is out of your control, asshole.
Right.
Your opinions and your thoughts don't matter.
Don't matter, bro.
Yeah. And they don't. And that's the hardest part.
It's hard to get over that.
And whether it's COVID or, it's, the summertime is always a slower time for us.
Or when we have a snowstorm in Louisville, where like they're not set up for snow,
Yeah.
and our guests and actors are like, running around in a circle, like, what do we do? And they're waiting for us to, obviously make the call on, do we keep a show? Do we cancel a show? And that's always really frustrating for you, because you're like, I live in Denver, Colorado. It snows 90 inches here and I'm still driving. I'm like, well, it doesn't ever snow 90 inches in Louisville, they don't.
Yeah, but it doesn't snow 90 inches ever in Louisville. It's like 2 or 3 inches.
I know. So
the
for
whole
them,
city shuts down, which I get it, because you're not used to it, and it's a different type of snow, and things freeze, and
you don't have the infrastructure to deal with it.
and
Or
the
like,
plows out there
you and I had the hardest time getting over freezing or frozen rain or freezing rain, which they have in Kansas City. We're like, wait, isn't that snow? And then like one of our actors explained to me, she was like, no, it actually is when the rain comes down and it's frozen and it freezes your streets immediately, and it's
basically a giant
ice rink. And then Casey and I were like, oh yeah, that sounds pretty scary.
I guess I can understand how that might be dangerous.
I get it. I guess I get it now.
But is this really going to prevent you from going to your Dinner Detective show?
It snows 90 inches in Denver. No, we get it. We totally get it. So anyways, it's moments like that where I kind of have to check you and be like, hey,
I'm sorry. Denverites just are tougher people.
Oh my God. Such a dick. And this is when I have to step up and be like, bruh, stop. So working with your spouse, I mean, it can be fun. I think, what is the number one thing you get in trouble for with me?
Not listening.
Yeah.
I just got in trouble for that.
You literally today, just before we started.
As we were setting up, hey, what's our topic today?
I had told him.
told you.
I had told him the very last words that came out of my mouth to him was what our subject was. And not even a full 5 minutes later, motherfucker turns to me and he's like, "What are we talking about today?" And I was like,
It's not that I don't
"Are you
listen. I
kidding
just
me?"
forget. That's all.
Oh my God, it's so annoying.
I had other things going on.
I am the brightest, shiny star in your life. You have to remember everything.
Yeah. Hi, Chris.
Hi.
Yeah.
What is the number one thing I get in trouble for? Being negative?
Probably the number one thing you get in trouble for is, yeah, probably that.
Being negative.
Yeah, being negative, or it's your negative approach to things. I think it's, it you can, it takes a lot, but it's this fire and brimstone. The world is ending.
Mm-hmm.
We're completely out of control. We're going to be dead in a ditch in a week, and it's like, hold up, really? Let's think about this. Let's think about this. And it's and all of its completeness here.
I have to put that into check really, because that is my way of like emoting how I feel and the fears that I'm thinking. Because if I don't get them out of my brain, like they just sit there and like corrode.
Well, you have mom brain too.
I do.
So you have all the issues of that go hand in hand with being a mom, because you're seeing that how your decisions or your failures.
Right. I'm like, great, we're going to fail, and then our child's never going to have a future.
Yeah.
Even though he's 17 and should be making his own future right now, he should be starting.
Yes, he should be.
He is
figuring out a few things.
He is too. Like, he's got his job, but even that he's stopped working right now because of COVID. But anyways, yeah, it's interesting too, because we have to work really hard to, as husband and wife, communicate with each other how we're feeling, but as business partners, somewhat compartmentalize and hone that so that we're not putting our terror or emotions onto the other person and projecting.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's where we struggle. We do well, but it's a struggle because husband and wife, I could tell you anything about how I'm feeling, but then I know it sort of corrodes your mind too when I'm like, well, we've basically got a month left and then we're dead in the water. And Casey's like, did you actually look at the numbers on that?
Have we looked at this?
Have we really
objectively yet
done the math on that? And I'm like, it doesn't matter. There is no math, because there is nothing.
There is no math. There's only death.
Yes. You're finally getting it. But overall, I enjoy working with you. I wouldn't want it any other way, actually.
No, and that's part of the motivation, right? I mean, to do all the things that we do, is so we can continue being able to do that. I think one of the challenges that we are constantly facing is how to move forward and how to grow the business and how to grow financial stability.
That is something that's really tricky working with each other, is that you are a never settle.
No.
Like, you can never settle down. Gratitude is difficult for you. Like, being joyful for what you have. Even through this process of COVID and slowing down, you've had this element to you of your like, now I'm just thinking of all the things we never should have done and we were so frivolous. And I'm like, are you kidding me, motherfucker? Like, we went out to eat a lot. And we went on a trip.
Well,
we went to Boston with our friends.
But then we looked at the numbers and we were like, okay,
it's okay. And then I kept telling you, it's not.
We don't know
great.
how long it's going to be good.
No,
but for the short term, it's going to be.
And I just kept telling you, I'm like, we never, in the moment of doing really well, like last year was one of our best years. Never in that moment did you sit there and go, I am so proud of myself. I'm so happy with what I have. I'm so happy with what I created. And then it all sort of starts to slip away, and we're starting to see like, holy shit, we could lose this if we don't control what this looks like. And you still couldn't do it. You just looked back at our year and you were like, we spent too much. We did too many things. We took advantage too much of the success we were having.
I think it's human nature. We get caught up in the moment, right?
Totally.
I mean, this is literally why people pay coaches,
slow
personal
down.
development coaches and whatnot,
to
literally learn to stop and smell the roses.
It's so important too.
It is, because you get lost in the moment, and the retrospective stuff is much harder to look at because you're looking at the challenges that you're facing and the challenges in which you're dealing with in the moment. And so looking back, all that shit is just that already happened.
Yeah.
And so those challenges and those things that you overcame have.
Sorry, the basement dweller is up here. God. Making noise. Say hi, Jackie. Okay. I don't think so, but we can hear everything you're doing. Okay.
Enjoy those saltines.
I love you, boo. He's so cute. Anyways, okay, sorry.
So the problem with having perspective, or maintaining perspective is, you get caught up in dealing with the day-to-day stuff,
Right.
and you look behind you and you're like, oh, that was easy. What was I freaking out about? And you forget to
I
be
know.
grateful about it. And then you look ahead and you're looking at all these challenges that you're, whether you're excited about those challenges or not.
But that's what I always tell you is that our ego is the part of us that looks in the past and looks ahead to the future. If we're being our truest, most authentic selves, we are sitting in the moment. And that's hard as a business owner because you have to be good about being aware of what's going on in the future and in the past.
Kristen,
Oh, okay. Hi. So it's hard when you're a business owner to be like, I'm really in the moment and I'm so fucking zen. Meanwhile, you have to think about shows that are 3 weeks out, and you have to
Yep.
think about ticket sales that are 3 weeks out, and you have to think about the actors and how they're being scheduled. And then that pisses you off because you're stressed out and you're like, how am I going to make this work? But if this moment right here in time, if COVID-19 teaches me anything, and I keep reiterating this to you, is if it teaches me anything, it's taught me that I'm going to be grateful every fucking day for every time an actor emails me something nice or every time they call me a whore bitch. Like, I'm going to be like, thank you.
Thank you.
Because I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you, girl.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for the opportunity to be the worst boss ever. You are amazing. No, 90% of our actors are fucking awesome.
Yep.
I would say 95. And then we have like
Yeah.
5% who are like, I'm entitled to the world.
Yeah. Well, I think, the hardest thing for everybody, actors or whoever, or even our venues, is perspective, right?
And managing perspective.
Yeah, and managing perspective,
and expectations.
and managing those expectations, and when you have 600 actors across the country and everyone has maybe a slightly different expectation,
Mhm.
or they're used to, they expect certain things to be a certain way, or they're used to certain things being a certain way, or
Yeah.
whatever the case may be, it's very difficult for those expectations to be managed. And that's a challenge that you and I have as, the husband and wife team. Is I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with these people?
Jelly bean.
I'm like, what the fuck's wrong with these people?
Yeah.
And you have to explain to me the mindset of an actor.
Right. I have to tell you, like,
Because it's
yeah.
different,
And
right?
yeah, and we're also, I think, like, as artists, we put ourselves out there, and so we are very sensitive to critique. We're very sensitive to the outcome. Oh, Jelly Bean wants to get in the chair with you. So I always have to tell that to you because you're very pragmatic. And I'm the emotional one. I have that mind of the actor because I am an actor too. So a lot of times the stuff that they come up with, I'm like, well, you got a point there. I get that. Yeah, I really get that.
I understand your feelings.
But I can't do anything to help you because I'm running a business. Oh, there's Jelly. I think that's probably good for today. Yeah. Hi, Jelly Bean. Thank you guys again for listening. This is Hold On, We Got This. Again, I'm Allison.
I'm Casey.
And it's all going to be okay. We'll talk to you soon. Now we have to stop everything.
We have to stop everything. No. Ignore this awkwardness.
Do. Yeah. We're stopping. We don't know how we're. Oh, I keep getting notifications. Hit end right up there.
Okay.
Good job.